The Champagne Safari. Many have attempted to explore and survey the Peace River country in northeastern British Columbia, a wilderness larger than Germany. None proved as spectacularly unsuccessful as the Vidéo expedition of 1934. The Franco-American industrialist Charles Vidéo was a celebrity explorer who undertook filmed expeditions in remote regions. He vowed to travel 2,400 kilometers from Fort St. John to the Pacific using experimental Citroën half-track vehicles. Along with the vehicles, he brought back pack and saddle horses, cowboys, packers, trail cutters, surveyors, cooks, cameramen, Hollywood director Floyd Crosby, plus his wife, his mistress, his maid, and his wine cellar. Peace River cowboys felt fortunate to earn $4 a day at the height of the Depression. By July, hopelessly mired in mud, Vidéo ordered vehicles to be pushed off cliffs and into rivers, and a forest fire started for the cameras. By October, with the horses dying and winter approaching, he finally gave up. Miners and First Nations made good use of the discarded equipment, including the half-tracks. Not welcome. In 1914, the Kamagata Maru, a Japanese steamship, arrived in Vancouver Harbor carrying 376 passengers from India via Hong Kong and Shanghai. All were British subjects, legally titled to settle throughout the empire, yet Canadian officials refused permission to land, using a law requiring Canadian immigrants to arrive directly from their country of origin. A law designed to keep out people of Asian descent. The ship remained in harbor for 2 months under squalid conditions, while prominent politicians led anti-Asian rallies on shore. Finally, police and armed deputies, with the help of the Army and Navy, forced the unwelcome newcomers to leave. For British Columbians, the Kamagata Maru incident has become a symbol of intolerance and bigotry, a dark chapter in the province's history. In 2008, the BC legislature unanimously passed a motion apologizing for the Kamagata Maru incident, resolving that such a disgrace will never happen again. Master boat builder. Fishing is physically dangerous and financially risky, and fishermen all over the world resist change, but not in BC. BC fishermen, being from diverse origins, were open to new methods and technical innovations as they are today. So it is with boat building. Tsunomatsu Atagai arrived from Japan in 1900 and opened a boat building yard in Steveston, south of Vancouver. You can go to the playlist and see a number of videos in Steveston, British Columbia, which is south of Vancouver, and the huge impact and influence the Japanese have had on the development of Canada, especially this part of Canada. His method was to lay the keel, set molds or ribs, then tack planks to the molds. Cuts were made with a Japanese push saw. It provided a perfect fit with only a string between the planks for caulking. The atelier yard progressed from gill netters to signers to large packers with elegant, upswept sterns, much in demand. For over 35 years, the ateliers were responsible for a large part of the BC fishing fleet. Then war broke out with Japan in 1941. The government, encouraged by competitors in the industry, seized the property of all Japanese fishermen, immigrants and native-born alike, taking their entire fleet. The atelier family lost everything. When the war ended, Japanese Canadians were allowed back on the coast. Atelier's sons returned to Steveston, took up the trade, and began rebuilding their lives. Rosie the Riveter. At the foot of North Vancouver's Lonsdale Avenue, across the harbor, was the largest shipyard in Western Canada and the site of an historic breakthrough for women. Formed in 1906 as Wallace Shipyard and renamed in 1921 Burrard Dry Dock, the yard produced tugs and barges for the lumber industry, ships for the war effort, ferries for coastal travel, and icebreakers for the north. Production peaked during World War II when Burrard Dry Dock and its neighbor, North Van Ship Repairs, built about a third of Canada's Victory ships. Each warship required 383,000 rivets. Riveters worked in round-the-clock shifts. With more and more men in uniform, women were hired for what was traditionally men's work. Rosie the Riveter became an icon for women in the workforce. The workforce grew until oversight became a problem. Employees wore brass badges whose numbers linked to their pay packets and employment records in an early version of the employee identity card. In his lifetime, Burrard built over 450 ships. Shipbuilding and repair have been a strong component of the BC economy. Queen of the River. Just 5 years after high school in 1945, Lucille Johnson took a job as receptionist for River Towing, a shoestring tugboat company in the Fraser Valley. Within months, she became the entire office staff, secretary, bookkeeper, personnel manager, and dispatcher. So began a remarkable career that resulted in one of the largest corporations in BC history. Captions named her Tugboat Annie after the fictional heroine, and because she resembled a tugboat, short, wide, and able to pull way beyond her weight. By working days and studying nights for 6 years, she became a certified general accountant in 1956. one of 2 women to complete the program. She studied advanced management at the age of 39, the only woman in the class. By the time she retired, she had engineered mergers and acquisitions as president of the Riveter Group, with sales of 250 million and 1,500 employees. I just went ahead and did the job, she said. I didn't stop to think a woman shouldn't be doing it. Many stories. One story. The panels on the seawall around the convention center tell many stories, and one story. True stories, each one a piece of working history. Some stories connect in a series, others stand in pairs or alone, but they all add up to one story. About people who dared to venture to what was for them the most remote corner of the earth, who carried with them their skills, their families, their languages, and their prejudgments, who, having left behind everything that was familiar, were open to something new. Remember, for all but First Nations, everything was new. The forests, the animals, the sheer size of the place. Pushed by nature, they became more inventive. Despite conflicting interests, they learned from other cultures and in the process learned respect. In a remarkably short time, these not-so-common people laid the foundation for the culture of innovation, education, tolerance, and common human decency we strive for today. It wasn't easy. Spirit diver. He opened Western Canada's first dive shop in Vancouver at age 15. And went on to become a world-famous inventor. Phil Newton's hard suits, the newt suit and the exosuit, revolutionized deep sea diving, enabling divers to work without fear of the bends. His inventions are used by NASA and by nearly a dozen navies. An underwater explorer, he co-led the team that discovered the wreck of the Bredabane, which sank 106 meters beneath the Arctic Sea in 1853 and is now a national monument. On Métis heritage, he was adopted by the Coaticu Nation as a child and studied under a master carver. He has carved totem poles, masks, jewelry, and full-size canoes. The Wakwa, having given him several names including Talaxan, which means red snapper. Among current projects for NASA, Newton's company has explored the bottom of Pavilion Lake, about 200 kilometers to the northeast of Vancouver, where life is thought to replicate early developments on Earth as well as planets such as Mars.